Guys, I wanted to talk to you about the Glasgow Coma Scale today and how to do it. Usually in class, you might turn to the person next to you and do a Glasgow Coma Scale, and I don't think that is an overall useful way of actually assessing the Glasgow Coma Scale. So I just kind of wanted to talk to you about how I sort of go through it. So if I was to do a Glasgow Coma Scale on somebody that's wide awake, say a student in my class, their eyes would be open and they would score a 4. Okay, they would be answering questions that I might ask them, and I'd be very confident that they're sort of with it. They'd be able to tell me about, where they are, what time it is, and all that sort of stuff. And as far as the motor response, they'll be able to follow instructions and squeeze my hand. And so that's how this sort of works. We look at the patient's behaviour, and they score, this normal patient would score a 15. Now I want to do the Glasgow Coma Scale on a doorstop, and I've called the doorstop Hodor for your Game of Thrones fans. So I'm going to ask this to open their eyes. Can you please open your eyes? No, they still score a 1. Can you please tell me where you are? No. Okay, they're going to score a 1 for that. And can you squeeze my hand? No. And they're going to score a 1 for that, and then they're going to score a 3, and a dead person can score a 3. Now I want you to think about somebody that's just drank too much. So, that person, you've probably been there, okay? Just think back on somebody that was just too extra with the alcohol. Were their eyes open? No. So they're not going to score a 4. Were their eyes closed? And maybe they responded to you talking to them? Let's say no. Let's say they responded to some noxious stimuli, which to a person that's had too much alcohol might be something like shaking them or whatever. Very noxious. So I'm going to give them, say, a 2 for that. In terms of their voice, would they be orientated? Maybe not so much. They couldn't drive a car. Would they be, I don't know, so with the verbal response, would they be slightly confused? Maybe. So they wouldn't score a 5. Let's give them a 4. Now, in terms of their motor skill, would they follow instructions? No, not the person I've got in mind. Would that person localise to pain and move away? Maybe. So they wouldn't score a 6. I might give them a 5. So let's add that up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And now I want to talk about a neuro patient. And this is where the Glasgow Coma Scale becomes actually very useful. A patient with a neurological condition could come into the emergency department and say, hi. And you'd go, okay, well, they're with us. I can give them a 4. I can ask them, do you know where you are? So what if this neuro patient said, yes, I know where I am. I'm at Campbelltown Hospital. Do you know your name? Yes, tells you their name. Do you know what year it is? And the patient says, yeah, it's 1992. They're not orientated. And I wouldn't give them a 5. I'd probably give that patient a 4. And that patient could very well execute some motor response. They could squeeze my hand. I may find some variation in the strength of each limb, or maybe on one side or another, and I may not. And I might give this patient a 6. And I'll add that up, and this patient gets a 14. And this is the interesting about Glasgow Coma Scale. This patient is normal. This patient is dead. This patient really needed some fluids, some Vegemite, and needed to sleep it off. And this patient here will probably have neurosurgery. So the point I'm trying to make with Glasgow Coma Scale, it is formulated around a numerical profile based on behaviour and response. But the numerical profile and subtotal is useless without you explaining why the patient scored what they did. And that's really what I wanted to sort of talk about Glasgow Coma Scale. I hope you find that helpful.